When I say Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, many of you probably think of the absolutely phenomenal masterpiece of the console game. You know, it's on Wii, it's on PS3, Xbox 360, PC, and this is a 3D action-adventure, beat-em-up type of game. You know, you go level to level playing as each of the Spider-Men in this game, that being Spider-Man 2099, Amazing Spider-Man, Noir, and Ultimate Spider-Man. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of nostalgia for this game. I played it at the time of release. I've played it time and time again. This is one of those games where I make sure to go back and play it at least once a year just because it is that good. But there is another version that I also got at release, and there's a whole story to it, but you know, we'll go into that as we actually play the game. But that is the DS version of Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Now, one thing that I would like to do in some of these nostalgic videos before we actually get into the game is do what I actually do in real life before I revisit a nostalgia game, and that is just take a moment to take in everything on the box, on the inside, the manual, and everything like that. So don't worry, if you just want to get to the gameplay, I'll have a timestamp on screen so you can just skip to it. But if you're like me and you like getting a little nostalgic and looking at the box art, stuff inside the case, we're going to take a moment to do that. So first things first, as you can see, we got the case here, which is different from the original. So as you can notice here, you got, again, 2099, Amazing War, and Ultimate on the end. But in this one, you only have the first three that I mentioned, 2099, Amazing, and Noir. And that is because there is no Ultimate Spider-Man in this version of the game. But don't worry, it's just one of those situations where any of the abilities that Ultimate Spider-Man had in this version of the game was worked into the other Spider-Man here. And it really, like, this still feels like a complete package on its own. You do not feel like you're missing anything. This game is literally bursting at the seams with content. And there's actually a very understandable reason as to why Ultimate isn't in this game. And it's actually probably for the better that Ultimate isn't in this game. But anyway, another thing here on the back, normally it says 4 parallel worlds, 1 unparalleled adventure, and then in this one it says 3 parallel worlds, 1 unparalleled adventure. Gosh, it's hard to say for some reason. 3 parallel worlds, 1 unparalleled adventure. But anyway, then it goes on to say, as Spider-Man, it's up to you to restore the shattered fabric of reality by traveling across 3 distinct parallel worlds, experience high-octane action, and master strategic puzzles with exclusive villains such as Silvermane 2099 and Calypso Noir. So that's another thing worth mentioning here. I'll kind of hold it up so you guys can see it as I talk about it. But yeah, this game does have some exclusive villains and other enemies that you can fight, and a lot of exclusive abilities, as well as just being a very distinct and different experience from the traditional Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions that you would get on the console version of the game. And it just goes on to say, amazing, battle with innovative web combat, you know, as Amazing Spider-Man. Then when you play as Noir, experience Spider-Man in the 1930s, and then 2099, explore a futuristic New York City. This version of the game is also only rated E10+ for cartoon violence, whereas this one is rated teen for mild language, mild suggestive themes, and violence. So, you know, another discrepancy or difference there. But, you know, this game still, it's not one of those things where this was watered down to be like a quote-unquote kids game. Like, this is still just as mature as, you know, the original one was. It's just that I guess it wasn't pushing as many boundaries to be considered a teen-rated game. But anyways, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and actually dive into the game. Now, man, this actually makes me really sad. So, if you've played the original Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions before, then you would know that the intro is narrated by the one and only legendary Stan Lee. Rest in peace. So we're gonna take a moment to just be quiet, just to let Stan Lee do his thing.
Greetings, true believers. Stan Lee here, welcoming you to the latest harrowing handheld adventure of our high-powered hero, the Amazing Spider-Man. Now get ready. You've never experienced action and excitement before with such universal appeal.
I got word that Mysterio found some old rock or tablet that was dug up in the construction site. I'm not sure what it is, but if he wants it, I'm sure he's got trouble in mind. This should be easy enough. Alright, quick stretch of the hammies, and we're off. These neighborhoods aren't gonna friendly themselves.
Okay, so not only did I get chills as soon as I heard that intro again, but man, just, this is one of those games where it's so nostalgic for me, and there's just, there's so much emotion and nostalgia tied to it, to where I genuinely feel like I'm gonna tear up right now, but I'm gonna try not to. But anyway, the difference between this and the original Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, as I mentioned before, you know, the original one's a level-based action-adventure beat-em-up type of game where you're just, you know, constantly wailing on enemies, getting new skills and upgrades and such, but this is actually a 2D Metroidvania. And that kind of ties into what I said before, to where it's actually a good thing. Now, you can tell I play this game a lot because I'm okay, as I said that, I kind of started to mess up. I am playing this with a third-party Xbox One controller, so, you know, this would be easier to pull off a lot of the movement on the, like, you know, actual DS D-pad and buttons and such, but, you know, there's a lot of cool movement tech in this game. Basically, if you jump and then, like, go at a diagonal to web zip, you can do, like, a cool roll, which kind of helps with your movement speed, which is, you know, good if you're trying to speed run the game, because there is, like, different time things you can do. But, yeah, in typical Metroidvania fashion, you're going to be picking up a bunch of different upgrades. So right here, offense upgrades, launching uppercuts, you know, it's just one of those abilities you get early on that lets you uppercut enemies, which is actually very useful later on for some of the bosses. But anyway, as I was saying before, it's actually better that this game doesn't have all four Spider-Men, because if they did, could you imagine having to explore all four of the different worlds? Like, as great as that could be, hold on for a minute.
Years of searching, I, Mysterio, have uncovered the key to defeating that pesky Spider-Man once and for all.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Tablet of Order and Chaos is finally mine.
Dude, behind you.
Now, I can televise the destruction of...
Hey!
Spider-Man! You will not foil my plans this time!
Now, the one thing that I always loved about the DS version more than the console version was the fact that you can actually play this segment. So if you've ever played Shattered Dimensions, then you would know this is all just a cutscene. But in the DS version, you could actually play through this intro section. You see all the, like, obviously you swing over here, then you get to actually have this little boss fight with Mysterio. So, like I said, I've played this game a good bit, so I kind of know how a lot of the combos work. You know, you do the punches, and then he pulls out the tablet, then you got to kind of web zip it from him, so we'll do this.
I won't let you take it.
I'm not asking your permission. Just a quick yank, and...
No!
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh. I got that saying from this game. Anytime you've heard me say that before, I know I don't say it often, but when I do, I got it from this.
And you went... Well, at least this is...
Spider-Man!
Madam Web? If you're here, this can't be good.
All is not good, Spider-Man. Mysterio obtained a most powerful artifact which holds the balance of reality in check. Thanks to you shattering it, dimensional rifts have opened, spreading pieces of the tablet across both time and space. Luckily, these pieces have landed in dimensions with their own Spider-Men.
Wait, hold up. There are other me's?
Yes, in a past unlike our own, and a future which may now never come to pass. I speak to you three heroes. Go forth and restore the tablet, or your reality and those of your counterparts will cease to exist forever. Amazing Spider-Man, you must pass your shard to the other heroes so that they too may use its power to locate the remaining pieces. Seek out the dimensional gateways. The tablet will guide you.
Well, Aunt May always said I could use a little more guidance.
Congratulations, Bubblehead. Yeah, there's actually built-in achievements in this game. Obtain the first tablet fragment, unlocks challenge, swing away. Yeah, there is so much content in this game. You have the main story on top of a bunch of other modes. You have boss rush modes, arcade modes, challenge modes. There's so many unlockables to go for. And on my DS, I have 3 save files that were all just like, you know, 100%ed, just because I love this game that much and I felt the need to go through 100% all the different save files. But as I was mentioning before, like, as cool as it would have been to have even more content and have there be 4 unique Metroidvania worlds to explore, once you play this game and you see just how massive each 3 of the Spider-Man's worlds are, and how many abilities they have, and how much backtracking there is, if there was another world on top of that, I'm not saying that the game would have been too long, because, you know, just having more of this game would always be awesome, but to that same extent, sometimes there's those games where it's like, they stay for just as long as they need to for what they're trying to do, and I feel like Shattered Dimensions on DS, as it is, does just that, to where if there was another world, I don't want to say that the game necessarily would have been too long, because in the case of this game, I'd have been happier to play it for even longer, but at the same time, part of the fact of what makes it so replayable is just that it's long enough without being too long to necessarily become daunting. Like, you could do it over the course of a day if you're committed enough. So we just unlocked the dodge mode, which is very, very useful later on, and it's really cool, because they give you, like, these cool demos with this little, like, test dummy in here anytime that you unlock a new ability, so you can actually, like, test things out for yourself. But there's a lot of surprisingly in-depth mechanics in this game. You have, like, all the dodging mechanics as well as the momentum bar. So if you look at the bottom of the screen where the health bar is, there was, like, like another bar on the right side, which is the momentum bar. The higher your combo is, the faster you're going to be able to attack, and that becomes huge later on. So as you can see, the more that I punch enemies, the more the momentum bar goes up, and the faster my attacks get. Now, obviously, if you get hit, that's going to slow that down, but if you can build it up, as you can already see, the attacks get faster and faster, they get more powerful, and if you can build it all the way up, you're going to be absolutely just rolling through boss fights. Now, this is the one thing that may actually be a bit hard in here. So yeah, if you try to come through here, you're not gonna be able to get through because you don't have this web ability yet. So there's a lot of Metro, like if you played like Metroid Zero Mission or basically literally like any other Metroid game, I just point to Zero Mission specifically because I feel like compared to a lot of other Metroid games, that game really has it in spades to where you're gonna get to an area and it's just like, oh, well, I can't come here yet, guess I gotta come back later. Again, that's in every Metroid game, but I feel like in Zero Mission and the first Metroid especially, like that was what's happening constantly. But anyway, then there's this thing. So I'm going to try to do it with a mouse and hopefully this is going to work. I have no idea how this is going to work. I'm doing my best. Basically, you have to spin this tablet and then tap on these guys. And normally with a stylus, this is easy peasy and it's very intuitive. But with a mouse, I mean, okay, yeah, you know, it's still doable. Definitely not the ideal way to do it, but at least I know it's possible.
The museum for the tablet fragment. Where criminals dwell, the fragment awaits.
I've got to get my hands on that fragment before it's too late.
Anyways, yeah, I forget what I was saying before, but yeah,
you do not possess. But there may be a way to use this dimensional anomaly to our advantage. I will look into this further.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, so Noir Spider-Man doesn't have the wall crawl. Wall crawl power yet. Use your web in creative ways to get around. Wall jump is also very useful. So, the unique thing about this game is that obviously Amazing Spider-Man, he can web, you know, web swing, he can crawl, he can do all these things. But Noir Spider-Man can't actually crawl. And you may be like, but wait, Spider-Man can't crawl? But again, it plays into the Metro thing to where he can't crawl yet. Later in the game, you will get the crawl ability, and all the Spider-Man will be powered up. And similarly, like Spider-Man 2099, he can only wall crawl, but he can't web swing or web zip or anything like that. Like, he really don't got no webs, but again, you'll get the ability, and eventually all three of the Spider-Man will be fully powered up. It's just in this beginning segment, yeah, they're going to be stripped of some of their powers, and again, it plays into the whole Metroidvania idea of, hey, you're going to start out a little weak, but before you know it, you'll be ripping and tearing through the environment. You'll be able to unlock a bunch of areas that you couldn't get to before, and so yeah, we're going to take out these enemies real quick, just because I love interacting with the combat in this game, and then boom. Down we go, and we keep moving on towards our objective. And in typical Metroidvania fashion, you know, you always want to take a look around, make sure you're not missing anything, just kind of explore. I'm also very OCD when I play Metroidvanias, and even if there's certain things that I can't specifically interact with in an environment yet, I will still go ahead and, you know, explore as much of it as I can to fill up as much of the map that I can. And that can also help later on in the game, saying you'd be like, oh, hey, I was here before, but clearly there's something on the map saying I didn't interact with it yet, and this game does have that to where you can see the dark blue little squares inside of the light blue squares, which means there's something you haven't interacted with that you need to go back and get yet. So, and yeah, especially when you're at the beginning of the game, that probably just means that, hey, you don't have that ability yet. So again, there is some backtracking, but it's never annoying because it always leads directly into the progression. Like, when you're backtracking for certain abilities, it's going to be one of those situations where as you're quote-unquote backtracking, you're actually making progress towards where you need to be anyway. So it's very well done, very well designed. But again, if you remember, I said Spider-Man Noir cannot web crawl. However, he can web zip and do the web wall jumps and such. So now you can kind of do this, you can zip around. So again, it's really cool. And while at first maybe like, wait, Spider-Man can't web crawl or he can't web zip in the case of like Spider-Man 2099, well, the game was totally built with that in mind, and again, you'll get those abilities later, so it's just one of those things where you get it as the game progresses. And as you probably just saw, we got a health pickup, our first in the game. There was many of those throughout. You can get your health bar pretty high towards the end, so now we're at 240 health. Honestly, I could beat this game with 200 just because I know this game inside and out. I know all the enemy patterns and such. And there's also another cool thing here where, you know, sometimes you'll be indicated to use your spider sense as a spider would, and it can make certain hidden things in the environment pop out. Now, don't worry, it's not one of those annoying things where you gotta walk around the entire game just spamming it. No, it's one of those situations where it'll tell you, hey, use your spider sense here, so you'll never have to worry about potentially missing anything important like that that is essential to progressing through the game. But anyway, now we got another situation here where we need to wall jump and, you know, web zip around and stuff like that. And as you can see, the momentum bar is getting quite high here. And another cool thing in this game is you can actually pick up some, like, enemy weapons and stuff. So you can, like, zip them up like that, toss it back at them. And yeah, there's a lot of really cool tech in this game outside of the movement, just with, like, the combat and Metroidvania mechanics. It's similar to what I was talking about in my Star Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith GBA video, where on the surface it may seem like a game where it's like, okay, this is basic, right? You know, just like basic 2D Metroidvania stuff, maybe some light combat. No, it's very in-depth in all of its mechanics. This is one of those games where it knows what it is, it knows what it wants to be, and it just executes on it perfectly. Between the combat, between the Metroidvania mechanics, like, it's all just absolutely perfect. Then you come in here, and yeah, again, there's like so many spots like this where it's like, oh, I can't go here yet, and you know, you may be wondering, like, why are you going to these areas if you can't go there yet? And I'm simply doing it just to show it off to you guys, to be like, hey, like, again, there's a lot of depth and there's a lot of things that you can interact with as you play through the game, but as for now, we're just gonna keep moving on towards the main objective here to fight the boss of this level. You'll also start interacting these enemies with guns here, and unfortunately, no, you can't grab it and shoot them, which, hey, you know, that's actually for the better, because obviously Spider-Man doesn't and shouldn't kill, but, you know, you'll also want to watch out for those. Thankfully, they're very easy to take care of. You just gotta web zip them, and you'll automatically grab their weapons and you can toss it back at them, but anyways, now we need to go ahead and find the second tablet fragment. Got some more enemies to fight, and yeah, I love how high that momentum bar is getting, man. The combat, like, it's one of those things where it's so gradual, but as the bar gets fuller, it just becomes even more and more satisfying to whack on these guys as you're getting stronger, as you're getting faster. Again, once you get hit, it's gonna slow back down a little bit, but it doesn't take long enough to fill up to where it becomes annoying to get it back up, where it's like, oh no, I'm all slow again. Like, no, it's never anything like that. Like, the default speed is more than fast enough. It's just one of those small things where the game rewards you for doing better, but it doesn't punish you for doing worse either. Like right here, for example, this is on the way to like the main quest that we're after, and you can see a health pickup down there, and obviously I can't do anything about it yet, and I know I'm kind of giving away what the ability is supposed to be, but yeah, right here you're supposed to web smash this thing, and then you can go through and get it, but obviously we don't have that ability yet. We'll get that later, but go ahead and punch you in the face, do a couple it's really that easy. This is definitely a game that you're probably not gonna master like the minute you pick it up. Like, again, for me, I'm able to whack on all these enemies, do all these crazy combos and backflips because I've played this game before, so like I already know what I'm doing. But if it's your first time, expect it to take you a little while. Again, you could probably beat it over the course of a day or two if you know you're really committed to it and you put enough time into it each day. But yeah, you know, it's definitely one of those games you just want to take slow, you want to, you know, explore, fight the bosses, fight the enemies, find all the upgrades, and most importantly, just have a fun time, you know. Take a moment to take it all in, just to enjoy the experience. If you remember before, we were, I mean, if you look at the map, we were literally just on the other side of this before with the double things here. Again, yeah, normally we'd be able to smash through that, but we don't have that ability, so we can't do it just yet. So anyway, then we go ahead and go through here, and now we are at our second boss.
Between me and the tablet piece, there's a guy with a boomerang, and, you are?
Boomerang. You're here for this bit of rock, ain't you, mate? You sure picked a good day to die.
The irony. Alright, so this boss, I remember I wasn't necessarily stuck on him when I was younger, but, it did take me a couple of attempts to be like, okay, what in the world am I actually supposed to be doing here? But again, I've played it enough times now to where I actually know what I'm doing now. So basically, yeah, web zips are very important. Just kind of do the thing here. Wait till he stands up, toss it in his face, stun him, and then just kind of do the thing. Now, unfortunately, he did whack me a couple of times, so my momentum bar is a little slower than it otherwise would have or should have been. Ah! Yeah, you gotta watch out for that, man. The boomerangs are pretty slick. They'll come up and get you from behind. I try to stay as close as I can just so I can actually, like, grab it from his hands directly, but wait till he stands up, toss it right in his face, run up and punch him a couple times, get him with the uppercuts. Oh, wait, I messed up that one. I was supposed to do an uppercut and then like a full-on combo, whatever. There we go, toss it in his face, punch, 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 and then let's see if I can actually pull it off. For some reason, he isn't doing it. He keeps, like, just doing, like, a backflip kick to him. Wait till he stands up, get him in the face one more time, uppercut him again. There we go. Now it's doing the full combo. I'm not sure. I'm playing with a controller that I normally, obviously, wouldn't use or whatever suggest using for this game. It's nothing wrong with the Xbox One controller, of course. It's just the fact that it's third-party, which means it's much lesser quality and simply doesn't work as intended half of the time, but anyways, we're almost at the end of this boss, and toss it in his face, punch him a couple times. The momentum bar is getting filled up, which is very lovely. Go ahead and grab the boomerang one last time. Maybe if he wants to grab, come on, give me, there we go. All right, then toss it in his face one last time. Punch, 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 and the boss is dead.
This would come back to haunt you.
And there we go. So now we got the second tablet fragment. Hammer Slam allows Spider-Man to smash ground barriers using a powerful slam attack. So again, I was basically already showing that off before, but you just punch through it, and that's that. So, very lovely. 6 feet down under. Obtain the second tablet fragment. Unlocks challenge Webhead. Again, tons of challenges to go through in this game.
Your victory was merely the beginning. You must now pass the tablet to the hero of 2099 so that he may continue our quest.
Glad to be of service.
Anyways, yeah, from there, you would take the tablet up and pass it off to Spider-Man 2099. But from there, we're actually going to stop here because I don't want to spoil that for you guys. We already kind of went through part of the amazing End Noir world, but if you guys would decide to check this game out, I would love for you to be able to experience it and experience all of those surprises for yourselves, including seeing Spider-Man 2099's world for the first time. So let me tell you, there's something about, even though it's on a DS, even though it's a DS game, and even though it's like running on a DS, there is something that is still so impressive about the 2099 world there, between the color palette and the art style. It is absolutely beautiful, and Spider-Man 2099 himself looking glorious as ever with his very, I always love Spider-Man 2099's suit. It's very unique, but it's very colorful and vibrant, yet still Spider-Man. You know what I mean? I've always loved it. Before we wrap things up, I realized I forgot to actually open up the case like I said we were going to. So yeah, you know, you open up the case, you got Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, you got the cartridge right there, and then you got the manual. So go ahead and pull this out for a minute, just be real careful. Oh, there's actually two manuals in here. You got your health and safety DS stuff, but then you got like the manual right here. You know, you gotta flip it open, and unfortunately there isn't, I mean, there's some illustrations in here, but they're not in color or anything like that. But still, just having the manual and all is pretty cool. And then if anybody's interested about reading the DS stuff, there you go. Health and safety warnings. I also realized I never got to touch on my history with this game like I said I was going to do earlier in this video. So I'll just keep it brief since we're already kind of at the end of it. I don't want to drag this out. But essentially, the way that I first acquired this game, it was back in the early 2010s, shortly after the game had released. The game released in 2010, and I can't remember the exact time frame that I got it, but it was very shortly after that. Anyway, I was making a trip to Virginia to see my grandfather, who was sick at the time. Unfortunately, he did end up passing away in the summer of 2012, but this was quite a few months before that. Me and my grandmother, again, we were, because I lived in Pennsylvania at the time, so we had a bit of a road trip to go to Virginia, because I guess he was, I believe there was like a specific reason he was in that hospital. I think they just had like, I don't know, I guess there was something special about that hospital to fit his specific needs or the care that he needed at the time. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, we had to make that trip, and we were staying at a hotel. And I remember we went out to Target because I believe we were just like getting some food or something like that. And I stopped by the DS games because, that was obviously at the time when DS games were still on store shelves. And I remember I had a bit of money saved up, and I was like, hey, you know what, this, even though it wasn't technically like a vacation, obviously, because the reason that I was there was still sad. I was still kind of looking at it as like, hey, I'm still on a road trip, it's money I have saved up, I'm gonna go ahead and, pick a game up. Then I saw Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions there, I was like, hey, Shattered Dimensions is awesome, and obviously I had my Cobalt Blue and Black DS Lite with me, so I went ahead and picked up Shattered Dimensions, took it back to the hotel, booted it up, played it that night, and absolutely fell in love with it immediately. And the rest is history. I've been playing this game for almost like a decade and a half now. Similar to the console version, I revisit it annually, if not more than that. Every time that I acquire like a piece of DS hardware, whether it be, whether it be one that's actually for me, for my collection, or like when I bought my siblings their first DS Lites this past Christmas, or whenever I'm just, testing something, whether that be an R4 or testing if a DS works, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions is always my test game, because out of like any DS game, there's a few DS games that I know better than the back of my hand, and this is one of them. This is right up there with like New Super Mario Bros., Lego Batman DS, for example, Mario Kart DS, where it's like if I boot it up, I'll be able to tell immediately if there's something wrong with like whether it's the R4 that I'm testing, whether it be with like a certain ROMs incompatibility, or whether with the DS hardware itself. So again, just one of those games that I always go to, whether it be to actually play it, just to test stuff, or just, my example piece when it comes to like, hey, what are some DS games you recommend? I always point to this one immediately, because it is not only one of my favorite DS games of all time, but just also one of my favorite games of all time, period. It is so good. If you like the original Shattered Dimensions, I can highly recommend this one, and even if you've never played the original Shattered Dimensions, I can still recommend this one. It's just, it's so much fun. It's so good. It's an amazing game. Please give it a shot if you never have before. But anyways, now I'd love to hear from you guys. Have you guys played this specific version of the game before? I know a lot of people have obviously played Shattered Dimensions, but I mean, then again, my audience is a bit younger, so there's a possibility that some of you might have not even been alive when Shattered Dimensions was out and might not even remember it, which makes me feel even more old. But still, if you've never heard of this version of the game before, hopefully I was able to put it on your radar so then you can check it out and experience it for yourself, because it's truly a masterpiece. But anyway, as always, massive shout out to all the Patrons and channel members to get all the low ball tier, and every shout out to all the big ball tier. My last game is animated, the shit that's on D tier, run events on the GCL. Thank you guys so much, you guys are literal legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.